2018.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
there we
still
are live. Yeah.
still freaking me out, but we're in a new year, and even though this is our second show of the new year, it's still freaking me out. So what can I do? Okay, yeah, we are live. Yay, that's good to see. And I'm going to go ahead and play our intro so that everyone knows that they're actually watching the show. You know, they may. Never mind. I was going to say something goofy here, but here we go. Share computer sound and. And we'll stop sharing that and go back to the smiling faces here. I'm Steve Sande from Apple World Today with Mr. Marty Edwards from Apple World Today also.
Yeah,
and you're watching AWT TV, episode 34. It's January 16th, 2018, and we're here to talk about tips. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We thought, you guys get the news and, we talk about this, that, and the other thing. And we thought just for fun tonight, we'd go through and throw out some of our favorite hints and tips dealing with either macOS or iOS. Nothing to do with watchOS or tvOS, at least on this show, but maybe some other day, right, Marty?
Yeah, and anyone watching live, I know I've invited some of my World of Warcraft gaming friends and to tune in and watch. If you post in the comments, we often can answer your question, read your comments. People that know me personally, you can text me questions, and Steve will read the comments and reply to those. And so we usually can have a nice little discourse with the people live online. So that's always fun to do, to know they're watching, asking questions.
Oops. In fact, I was just bringing that up, and all of a sudden I hear your voice coming out of the.
Yeah,
okay,
I hear
need
myself
to stop
there.
that.
So yeah,
Stop, doggone it!
I'm doing my best.
No, that's me doing it. Shame on me there. Yeah, the bad thing is I'm looking at the iPad, whatever the heck you want to call it, kind of the iPad app here, and it doesn't really provide that same wonderful, discussion thing that we can see on YouTube on the web. So I guess I'm going to have to bring that one up and take a look.
Hopefully, we'll see your comments.
Yeah, we got Paul Gans again. So yeah, Paul's complaining about the cold down there in the south. He says it's going to be 33 there on Thursday.
I just checked. We are at minus 0.9. We're 1 degree below zero right now.
You're colder than we are right now. I know. We're at 23 degrees and clear right now.
I know. Last Thursday, 5 days ago, it was 70. And now here we are below zero.
Yeah, it's, definitely, it's like the entire East Coast. I think, yeah, like you say, that's cold for South Florida. I do remember when the Challenger accident happened. That was another one of those situations where it was very, very cold in South Florida, and it actually, I think they put that down as one of the, additional causes of the problem there. Basically, what happened was these big O-rings that they used to kind of seal off the solid rocket motor segments got very stiff in cold weather, and that caused part of the problem. So there, a little bit of space history live Indeed. On Apple World TV.
Remember Apple it well World when it happened. TV. So.
I don't think there's anybody alive or anybody who was alive at that time that doesn't remember that. That was horrendous. It was just
Indeed. And this was a big week. Yesterday was the 10th anniversary of the MacBook Air. And incidentally, I bought my first MacBook Air this week, yesterday,
You
as a matter of fact.
did?
Well, I'm a little concerned. I bought it from a guy off the web I've never met, and I've already sent him the money. And I'll let y'all know how it goes in a few days.
I'm not going to say a word here. I'm not going to say a word.
I'll go ahead. I bought it from Steve. And so,
But it was good. It sounded like, we were talking about, oh man, you didn't do that. You sent the guy the check without getting the but I did drop it in the mail this afternoon, and not in the mail. I actually placed the package safely onto the counter at my local post office annex, and it should be on its way to you right now.
well, I appreciate it. Well, broadcasting together for quite a while. I trusted sending him the money first. He trusted sending the product first. And of course, there's not going to be any problems. So it's a 2010 model, which I don't expect to do heavy duty things with it. I want it more as a monitor to view other screens with VNC, and as long as it can web browse and that, I'm happy with it. And I want something I could just sort of play around with.
Well, I was really, really kind of surprised because what happened, this was a computer that my dad had had for, well, since 2010. And he, had used it pretty heavily in the, between maybe 2010 and, probably about 2015, maybe even early 2016. But he's had run into some cognitive issues, and he's almost completely forgotten how to use the thing. And Paul is asking if I can find his lost iPad Pro. There's a story behind this. This computer was actually lost for 3 months. And my dad never knew it was lost. That's how I know that he will not miss it at this point. But he had gone on a kind of a field trip. They have them at the senior place where they live. And he had gone on a field trip with my mom. And apparently he had brought the computer along with him. He had it in his walker. He's got one of these little, folding seats that's in there. And it was sitting down below where he always carried it. And when he got on the bus to go on this tour, he took it out and he put it in the, seat back in front of him. He didn't pick it up though. And it apparently sat in the office, the transportation office at Windcrest, this old folks place there, for 3 months. And finally somebody, had the smarts there to kind of ask around, and they just happened to ask as I was walking through, said, "Did your dad lose a computer?" And I said, "Yes, he did. It was a MacBook Air," and da 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 da. So I picked it up. They hadn't touched it in 3 months because they didn't have the charger. I had the charger, charged it up, ended up erasing it and installing a brand new copy of High Sierra on it, and it's up and running. So I think you're gonna like that little computer. They're an amazing machine.
Well, I don't expect to do high-end things on it. I just want something to play around with. And I've picked up old laptops before and used them as monitors around by VNC to the other computers and things like that. So I know it'll perform well with High Sierra. It's all flash drive. So I look forward to getting it.
Yeah, Paul Gans is saying that he had lost an iPad Pro. He says it's a Wi-Fi only model. Has not been found by Find My iPhone. What that kind of tells me, Paul, is that either somebody picked it up and either hasn't connected it to a network, or it hasn't been picked up, and maybe sitting on a beach somewhere, maybe floated out to sea or something like that. But that's sad to lose an iPad Pro.
I remember a few weeks ago he said he had lost it, so it's been quite a while.
Yeah, that's depressing. I mean, I can see losing these things. I actually had to go find them just before we did the show, and I was looking all over my desk for this little thing, and of course it was hiding under some paperwork. So, I dug around a little bit and found it. But iPad Pro. Oh, he says maybe your wife threw it into the trash. She wouldn't do that. Come on. Maybe she would. I don't know her that well. Okay, well, I thought we can go ahead and get started here. And like I said, we're going to kind of just go back and forth. Marty, I think we'll have you start off, and you can do one of your hints or tips for our readers, and then I'll kind of go on with another one there, and we'll just kind of go back and forth.
All right, I'll let me get this screen pulled up here. It's always takes just a moment to get it going here. I enjoy the tips. It's one of my favorite things to read, and it's been one of our favorite segments on the broadcast. So let me share that screen here. You can let me know if I'm not sharing the screen properly. All right, my phone screen should be showing up.
Hey,
does it look like a phone screen?
That looks like a phone screen.
All right. As a matter of fact, oh, look at our temperature here where we're at. Well, it says 1. A while ago it was below 0. So anyway, it's cool here tonight. Yeah, I'll just check the weather. That place says we're 3. It's not near that hot. But we're back up to near 60 on Sunday, so I'm looking forward to it. Okay, I want to show, I'll share a couple of tips here with you. Some of my favorite tips are from the settings. And I'll get to those in a minute. But I think I'm going to do one that can be very handy. If you have a lot of passwords around, which we all do now, and you use the Apple ecosystem, a lot of people don't realize this setting is here. I do have keychain turned on. So whenever you enable keychain on any device, it will share the passwords very securely between them all. And if you're somewhere and need a password to any website you ever have logged into, you can retrieve them from here. This turned out, pardon me, extremely handy. We were at an office discussing my wife's retirement. And I needed a password to a site about some finances, and I didn't have it with me. I only had my iPhone. And so I can't go all the way in or you'll see passwords. But if you go into settings on your iPhone, yeah, sorry, go into settings and then go all the way down to accounts and passwords. It's as simple as that. And then tap at the top. Now, at this point, you have to log in. But as soon as I do, it will show every website where I've logged in with a password, starting with LAN sites. I have all my, local ones where I have passwords stored on the network. Any site that I have, I just scroll down, tap on it, and there's the password in clear text. So I need the password for that site, so I can just press and copy and paste it back into it. So I think that's a real good thing for people to use. I do trust keychain. I think it's a good password manager. I know a lot like, one key and such but just simply go into settings, it's the cog, then simply down to accounts and passwords and app and website passwords. So it's not only for websites, but it's for apps. So you have your passwords always, whoops, I thought I was going into it a minute. That's, boy, I tell you what, that ID can read fast. I had to be careful about that.
Yes, it can.
So that's my first tip there. Do you want me to pass it to you, or do you want me to do 2 for the price of 1? What's it?
Actually, why don't you do 2? Because that'll be less disruptive.
All right, we'll do that. All right. There's a lot of talk here lately about batteries on iPhones. You may have heard that Apple has issued or, sent software that will slow down your iPhone if it tends to reboot when the battery gets too low. But if you want to know, and a lot of people may not be aware of this little setting you have to tap of what exactly is using my battery. And so I go into settings. Let's get back to the proper place here. Go to settings. I'm scrolling back to the top so you can see about how far down it is. Settings, then tap on battery. And you will see your battery percentage here at the bottom. Now it tells me suggestions here, reduce brightness. I have my brightness at full. But it will tell me in the last 24 hours what has used the percentage of the battery. IP Cam Viewer Pro, I have a network of cameras around the house and outside, and I'm often viewing them. And so it's used 19% of the battery. I've been on the phone a little bit more than usual today, so the phone has used 8% of the battery today. I listen to TuneIn Radio a lot. It's 7%. I can also see the last week. So this is probably a little bit more of a better average. Over the past week, TuneIn Radio has used 20% of the battery. The camera app has used 16%. I've been on the home screen 11%. But if you want more detail, tap on the little clock or tap on any of these items. It will tell me the exact time. TuneIn Radio over the past week has been used for 2.4 hours. That would be foreground, or 19.7 hours in the background. It runs a lot in the background. Whereas IP Camera Viewer Pro has been used almost 5 hours in the last week, but only 2 minutes in the background. And it would show the same data for today. So I've had TuneIn Radio on the screen front and center only 4 minutes today, but 2.2 hours in the background. So it gives you some exact time, and you can see what's really using a little bit of your battery. It just scrolls down, but most people want to see what's been using most of their battery. So
it's interesting. Excuse me, I just went to do that and found out that during the last 24 hours, my biggest use has been mail, which makes a lot of sense. I was kind of sending and receiving a lot of stuff on there. But it was really interesting because there's an app showing up on here that I didn't realize was even running. And that's Honda Link, which is an app that I really never use, but I think it's used by Honda to, when I plug in CarPlay, to kind of read some of the information about my car and send it off to Honda. So I didn't realize it was actually doing that. So I'm going to have to look into that a little bit more. But that's a really cool one.
Well, thanks. I know a lot of these may be basic and tips that a lot of people know, but it's not quite intuitive that you can tap and see the exact time, foreground and background.
That part I had no idea that you could do that. It is completely different. I'm going to actually do something that's related, but actually has to do with battery health information on MacBooks. And this is something that, especially with older MacBooks, you may want to know how many times it's been charged and discharged and all the rest of that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and, you're going to see a lot of mess on my screen here. That's not surprising, but what I'm going to do is share my complete screen, my complete desktop, so you can kind of get an idea of just how bad it really looks.
How can you get anything done?
It's real easy, man. Okay, what I'm going to do is go up here to the Apple menu. And first of all, I'm just going to bring up System Preferences. Now, System Preferences, excuse me, that's not what I wanted to do. I'm sorry. I wanted to go to About This Mac. And from About This Mac, I want to click on this button down here called System Report. Now, System Report has a lot of really cool information in it. I mean, it's amazing how much info you can get out of it. Just to start off with, it normally comes up to this hardware overview that'll tell you the model identifier and what kind of processor you've got and how much RAM and all the rest of this good stuff. But we're talking about the battery, so I'm going to go down here to Power, and we're going to look at this. And what it shows here is model information, the manufacturer of the battery, firmware version, cell revision, all the rest of this. And right now, it says you've got 3,805 milliamp hours of a total capacity of 4,209 milliamp hours, and it's charging. It is not fully charged, but it is currently charging. Now, this is what is really kind of important here, especially with older MacBooks. You can look at cycle count, and it will tell you how many times that battery has been taken all the way up and then dropped all the way down to condition where it needs to be charged again. And it will always give you this condition indicator there. Most of the time it's going to show up normal. If not, it's probably an indication that it may need to go to Apple or a third party for a battery replacement. So just kind of a interesting thing to do. You can also, look at all this great information about AC power settings, battery power settings. If you're on a desktop machine, if you've got a UPS installed and it's hooked up with it. And even in this particular case, it's showing what the AC charger is that I have connected. The serial number on that shows that it's a 61 watt USB-C power adapter. Pretty amazing information that you can get out of there. So for anybody with a MacBook that's running High Sierra, once again, that's under, you go to About This Mac, click on System Info, and then scroll down to Power, and you'll get that information. So very, very helpful piece of data there for you. Now I've got to look at my little cheat sheet here to remember my next one because I don't remember what my next item was. And oh, that was on how to auto empty the trash. A lot of people, I'm one of those weirdos that if I see anything in my trash can while I'm working on my Mac, I usually go over and I right click on it and I say empty trash. I mean, I'm just that bad about it. But I know that a lot of people never do that. They just, stuff will go into the trash can, they'll delete files, they go in there and it never gets empty. Well, there's a way that you can set everything up so that when a file is 30 days old, it'll automatically disappear from the trash. And that's a good way to kind of keep yourself from maybe not throwing things out too quickly. But then after 30 days, if you haven't gone in and said, oh man, I really shouldn't have thrown out my tax return from last year, then you can go ahead, pull it out of the trash can and, save it somewhere else where it's not going to get permanently deleted. Now, the way that you do this is you just go into good old Finder. We go under Finder, Preferences, and you click on Advanced here, and we have this thing that says Remove items from the trash after 30 days. You just click on here to enable it. And now, even if you don't manually empty the trash, it'll kind of keep track of how long each file that you've tossed into the trash can, how long it's been in there. And after 30 days, goodbye, it disappears. So kind of a neat thing and very useful, especially if you happen to live with somebody who doesn't empty the trash on their Mac very often. And for people like me who are somewhat obsessive compulsive about cleaning out the trash, I walk up to Macs and if I see anything in there, even if it's not my Mac, I'll empty the trash can. Yeah. I'm horrible. Okay, so we'll stop sharing there.
Those are a couple of good tips. I had no idea that because I don't have a MacBook yet. One was supposed to be mailed to me today, but anyway, we'll see.
I don't know if that guy, he's probably not trustworthy.
I think I can, hopefully.
Hey, one thing I wanted to bring up is that I didn't run that battery check on that thing, so I hope the battery's okay on that.
Well, I thought about that being 8 years old. I just assumed that a laptop of that age is not going to have a healthy battery. And I usually keep them plugged up anyway. An older laptop, I use it really like a desktop. It's probably going to be put into 24-hour service with some task like that, maybe even a small server that could check mail and do things and keep it plugged up. So,
gee, I may have to repurpose a certain macOS server series that I wrote and get it out on Apple World today.
Yeah. Who knows? I may spend the $20 and buy a macOS server for it. But diverting here a little bit, if I go in and totally reinstall the software, which I know you did at High Sierra on it, I wonder if it'll give me the option to put the original software, download from the servers on it, or if I have to go with the current that it can run.
Pretty sure that unless, I'm trying to remember I think you would actually have to put an old installer onto like a USB flash drive,
right,
and install it from there. And I can give you the name. There's a great app that's just perfect for actually letting you, take these older operating systems and make a bootable flash drive, and then install from that. So if you're interested, let me know
Yeah,
after the
but
fact.
well, I will probably honestly, keep what's on there because it needs to really be current with the other ones that I have. And so I was going to comment real quick here before I get to my screen sharing thing that regarding your emptying the trash, maybe I'm more OCD even than you are. I'm not. I'm not for sure because I actually I'm not the best programmer in the world, but I can hunker down, get some things done. I read some tutorials on how to use Automator, and I take a ton of screenshots on the Mac. I reprogram the key just to hit. I hit the pause button on or break on this OIBM type keyboard. Takes 2 screenshots, stores them on my desktop. So every day at I think 11:59 a.m., 11:59 p.m., any screenshot that I've taken, I have them backed up automatically. Then they go to the trash. Then every night at midnight, the trash empties on the Mac. So I use a couple of Automator scripts to empty it every night. And if I accidentally empty something that I shouldn't have, I've got two time machine backups, one local and one on a LAN. So I'm not
That's
too
a
concerned.
real kind of a really cool idea, being able to automate it that way. And that's the sad thing about Automator. I wish more people knew about it. I wish Apple was paying more attention to it and hadn't, basically laid off the guy who was,
Yeah.
kind of the sole support for it, guy by the name of Saul, Saul support. Uh, but I really honestly wish that they would spend more time. A lot of us were hoping that, and maybe they'll announce this at WWDC this year, but a lot of us were hoping that they would take the um, workflow app that they purchased, runs on iOS, and maybe repurpose that or create a Mac OS
Right.
version of it, because that would be pretty cool. That's a powerful, powerful tool.
Well, Automator, I had never really gotten into it, and I was stunned at what you can do with it. Very complex things, and that's just very, very small, things. I did a little experimenting. I know I'm diverting a little, but I had listened to like certain broadcasts, audio every week or day at the same time to see if I could start an app and have it pull up the site and record it automatically, and I could. And it was amazing, I could have it record it and save it for me if I wasn't here. So it's pretty amazing
Nice.
what you could do. So Automator is extremely powerful. Well, let me, pardon me, share a couple more tips. I'm going to have to look at my sheet, Steve, to see what I had written down. What's wrong
We're
with
both
us?
we both have really good memories here.
Yeah. Well, I remember a couple of them. I wanted to see the order I wanted to do them in. So I've already done passwords and check your battery. All right, let's get back over here. And I just learned something.
What's that?
I did not have to start the QuickTime movie again. I just switched what screen I wanted to share. It kept that open, which is pretty neat.
Cool.
Yeah, so I didn't know about that.
Excuse me.
All right. So the other tip that I want to share is to get a little bit more advantage out of Do Not Disturb. Um, all right. If any of my Warcraft friends are watching, I have all World of Warcraft screenshots pretty much going on here. I was seeing if the weather at 105 degrees, it's a little slow to update that widget. Oh, look at that, 3 below here. Wow, it is chilly.
Brr.
I know it. Really, really cold here tonight. All right. Most people are familiar with Do Not Disturb. You go into settings and down to Do Not Disturb. What that does, it's a toggle. You see the little moon icon at the top of my screen. It represents Do Not Disturb when it's on. Let's see, the moon went away. I'll turn it back on. And so what Do Not Disturb does is turn off any sounds while you have it enabled. But you can do more. You can sort of be a little bit more, I guess, determining of what you want. I have it scheduled every night. This is my approximate bedtime, 10:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. So I have it set to always go to that time. And so just simply change the hours. And then this setting here is to always have do not disturb on. Do not, yeah, I don't see the moon icon at the top now. Turn it back on. But anyway.
Oh, I think that's because of the screen sharing. It'll always put that 9:41 a.m. too.
Right.
So.
It probably thinks that I meant to go in, but it was on. Yeah, that's another little side note for people that follow Apple. Anytime you do a screen share, the screen will always say 9:41 a.m. and 100% battery, no matter what you have. And so, do I want do not disturb always or only when the phone is unlocked? And so, if I say only when the phone is unlocked, when I'm looking at it, it will do not disturb will not be enabled. If I say always, whenever I'm looking at the phone or it's locked, it'll always be do not disturb. Now, here's where you get into more powerful things. Allow calls from. For instance, I want my wife and my mother, let's say, and to get through. So I can have in favorites, or I can do groups. Say if I need Apple World Today people to get through to me at any time, I could set that up. No one can call me, or everyone. I'll be honest. Whenever I looked at that first, I thought, well, why would you want calls from everyone, but have do not disturb on? And I found the perfect use for it recently. My mother had been in the hospital, and during the night, I was concerned the hospital might call. So I wanted all calls to get through because I didn't know what number would be calling. But I did not want to hear weather alerts, text, or anything else that makes a sound, beep, or bonk. So I turn on do not disturb. It will mute all sounds, but by allowing calls from anyone, unknown numbers could get through to me during the night. So that's a feature I only just learned there. So that really helps. Then you can have repeated calls. If you think a person's using an iPhone, call them twice within 3 minutes. If they have this turned on, it will break the silence of their phone. And I won't get into too many details here, but you can have do not disturb to activate while you're driving. It can detect your motion automatically, or when you connect to your car Bluetooth, or when you get in. You can manually turn it on and have an auto reply to favorites or to a certain group. I could have just family or say church friends or people on a team, and it would reply to them automatically. So that's a pretty powerful feature.
It's interesting. I use that one when I've got it activated automatically, the do not disturb while driving, and auto reply to pretty much everyone, because I've always been that way. If a phone call or a text comes in, I mean, if I've got the phone on, hooked up through CarPlay, sometimes I'll actually have it read me messages, which is really kind of a nice thing you can do. And phone calls, sometimes I'll answer them, but I'm very paranoid about, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like if I'm talking on the phone in the car and I get off that phone call and I go, wow, how did I get here?
Right, exactly.
It's like I prefer to have my entire concentration on driving. But anyway, I love that feature. It's amazing, and I have to laugh because when we were on our cruise recently, people would send me text messages, like my sister, she's saying, hey, where are you guys going today? And it would respond with the do not disturb while driving response, because we were moving. We weren't moving quickly, but we were moving, and it knew that.
Well, that's interesting. Well, I use this all the time because, I want my wife and mother, and then their friends, or if that I want to get through to me, even during the night, or if I'm expecting a call, say from maybe a business number, I can put them in. But one thing you can do now, I won't dig into it, but I can go into, say, my wife's settings and have her texts also come through on do not disturb. And so that's quite handy. So I'll go ahead and do another. So that's my do not disturb tip. All right. Let me go into iMessages and share a tip. Then my last two after a while will be about the same. Let me go into iMessages. I've been texting myself here. I sent myself some video about the iPhones overheating. But a lot of people overlook, as you see, the moon is back up there now, because I guess because it went out of that screen.
Huh.
All right. If you hit the little I next to anybody in iMessages, this is a pretty powerful feature. A lot of people just don't see the little I. Anybody that you've messaged by iMessage, tap the little I, and you'll get quite a few things. You can immediately FaceTime them or call them. I can send my current location, just one quick text. It'll pull up a map of where I'm at, and then just hit send, and it's gone. I've already sent myself my location.
There you
And
are.
yeah, I know it. Good, I know. And then we'll get back to it. But if it's someone I want to share my location with, and like I have, of course, my wife and a lot of my friends and family, we share our location. If I want to share a location with someone, I can, maybe they're just going to be doing something. I can share it for 1 hour with them until the end of the day or indefinitely. And I think it's a feature a lot of people overlook. And I've used that with some people that maybe we don't want to share all the time, but until midnight. Sort of like Cinderella.
Yeah.
The glass slipper comes off at midnight. And so this is great for individuals, pardon me, or groups. You can hide alerts. If I don't want to hear from this group, but still get the messages, I can just toggle that and I won't get sounds from them. And also read receipts. Read receipts are now on a per person basis. If I want, say, I want my wife to know and certain friends exactly when I read their text, I turn that on. If I want them to not know if I even read it, then I just turn that off. And so then also from that screen, you go down, it shows every movie or picture that you've shared with that person over the last eons. And you can see I've sent myself quite a few just testing. But the neat little thing, there was a movie there I'd sent to myself. It's showing a little icon of it. Sunset or sunrise the other day at the house. But I can see images and I can see attachments. See, I just sent myself my location, so it's showing up as a recent attachments. So
Cool.
all that is from the little icon right there. So a tip where you maybe can get a little bit more out of messaging.
That is absolutely cool. And it's funny. When Barb was working, now being retired, we don't have to worry about this as much, but she would always use an app called Glimpse, Glympse, to do that, share your location. She'd share her location with me when she was on the way home. And I knew if I was going, she's not home yet. And I'd look and she was, going 0 miles an hour or 1 mile an hour on the interstate, I knew there was a bad traffic jam or something. So I knew not to call her or, not to get worried. But it's interesting because, really you don't need that Glimpse app anymore. You could do it right out of this, just have that person share their position and, you could just constantly know where they are while they're driving. That's it's good to, kind of keep tabs on somebody if you're concerned about where they're going to be. If they're driving late at night or something like that.
Well, one of the things, I may cover this in a future episode, I really like find friends. Me and my wife and a handful of friends and some family, we share a location. But since my wife and I are on the same Apple account, it can go deeper with Find Phone. I not only see each other's location, but I can tell her battery percentage. I can tell if she's charging or not. And one day she was out at her parents' and busy with some things, and I checked and I'd seen her battery had gotten down to 20% and turned red. It shows that on my phone. So I texted her, I said, you might want to put your phone on charge. It's down to 20%. She said, oh, thanks. I hadn't noticed, and just things like that. And gotten busy.
Nice.
And, you can do a lot of things. I want to address one thing real quick. I've read so many articles that they'll always season the article about Find Friends like, well, it's a creepy app to follow. I don't consider it that at all. I always give the illustration. I go into, say, a nice Mexican restaurant. There's probably 40 or 50 people in there that know my exact location, know which seat I'm in, know what I'm eating, what I'm wearing. Half of them heard my conversation. I don't know any of them. Why do I care if my wife and brother and a couple of best friends know where I'm at?
Yeah, good point. Well, you know what's funny about that is I actually had an experience. Trying to remember how many years ago that was, but excuse me. My
We
wife and
both have it tonight, don't we?
I think we do. It's going around. But my wife and I had flown into, I believe it was the Orlando airport in Florida. And we spent the night at the airport, and then we were going to grab a rental car and go driving out that morning. So, we had gotten to the airport, and like I said, spent the night. We were going to go eat breakfast, and at the time, I was still working for TUA, and I don't know how many of the folks remember Mike Rose. Well, I get this message from Mike Rose going, "What are you doing in Orlando? I just landed here on JetBlue. What are you up to?" And I told him, I said, "Hey, we've got about 3 hours. We're just going to wait here, and then you were getting our rental car, and we're going to head on out. You want to join us for breakfast?" But he had seen, we had Find My Friends on there. It alerted him when he landed on in the plane at Orlando Airport that Steve Sande was nearby. And as a result, we were able to have a really nice breakfast together, Barb and Mike and myself. And it was really kind of fun. It's a interesting, use of the technology that I really hadn't expected.
Well, that is. I'm the antithesis of finding it creepy. I find it comforting that there's a
Yeah.
handful of people, a dozen or so, that know where I'm at. When I don't respond, when I fall out in the yard and they, and don't
And you
report,
can't get
somebody's
up.
going to know. Yeah. But I guess I'm just not turned that way. I look at the bright side of it.
Well, it's funny because during the summer months, I do a lot more walking and hiking around. And Colorado, we tend to get a lot of coyotes, a lot of mountain lions, and we do occasionally get bears. And I've often thought that it would be useful, for search parties if I happen to get eaten by a mountain lion on a hike or something like that. At least they'd know my location from my watch, could figure out where I was. Hopefully I'd be able to send out an SOS.
Send last known in one piece location.
Yeah. As I'm being digested. Well, my next, I'm going to go to a quickie Mac hint and tip here. And it's something that oddly, a lot of people don't know they can do on a Mac. But you actually can. And here I'm just going to share the Bear app. And this is actually our list of what we were going to be talking about tonight. So I'm sadly giving people a kind of a heads up on what we're going to be doing. But my tip here is on how to add diacritical marks or accents using the Mac keyboard. And back in the old days, it was bad because you had to go in and you would have to, in some cases, hit a command or option key equivalent to be able to bring up accents that were associated with a particular letter. Well, now if you just, for instance, I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit the E key and I'm just going to hold it, tap and hold. And what happens is you get this little pop-up that appears. And hopefully that appears on everybody's screen there. But what it's showing is the numbers 1 through 7, and then a bunch of the accent marks. Yeah, there we go. I think it was wanting to make sure that it did show up there. Well, maybe it isn't. I don't think it's showing up on the share here.
It is not, just showing, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just showing an E with a flashing cursor next to it. But try that, go into one of your favorite apps and just hold down an A or an E or an I, any of the vowels or even some of the consonants. And you'll get this pop-up that appears that shows all the different possible accent marks or diacritical marks that are associated with that letter. And then what you can do If you've got a touch bar, you can actually let up on that key, and you can, for instance, there I just tapped on the touch bar, and it'll show all of those accents. Or I'm going to do it with an A here. There are 8 different choices. The other thing I can do is actually type the number that's associated with it. Like I said, you can't see this little pop-up, but for the letter A, it's showing me 8 different accents, numbered 1 through 8. And if I hit 8, there it fills in that particular accent. So it works with all sorts of fun things. For instance, if you want to type the Spanish Ñ, the N with the squiggle over it, you just hit N, the pop-up appears. I hit 1, or on my touch bar, I can actually see the letter up there, and I can touch it, and it types it for me. So it's a pretty powerful tool. You can also do the same thing with iOS on the iOS keyboard. With a lot of those, just touch and hold, and it'll come up with that list of accented letters, and you can select from those. So kind of a cool way to, if you're once again a very OCD and you like words like resume to actually have the accent, what is it, grave, I think it is. I may be totally wrong, but anyway, the one accent pointing in the right direction over the letter E on resume, you can do that now. So that's that hint here. The next one I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing for a second here. The next one I'm going to do is actually from my iPhone. So I'm going to have to make sure I've got that all nicely set up here. Da, 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 da. Let's see, iPhone, iPad via AirPlay. And what we're going to do here, plugin is required, which I already have installed on this computer 50 times. But anyway, so what I'm going to do here is actually get the machine all tied up. Well, this probably isn't going to work because I'm not on Wi-Fi. So I'm going to have to turn Wi-Fi on. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. Sorry about that, folks. So hopefully our image doesn't go to heck here in a second. Let's see. Choose Wi-Fi network. I know I should have done this before I got started here.
This K gives me a break.
It gives you a break. You're good. Let's see. And now I've got to make sure I'm on the same network. That one's on that network. This one is on, of course, a different network. So I got to change that. We'll get there eventually. And finally, I'm going to go to Control Center. We're going to hit AirPlay. Where are you, AirPlay? Screen mirroring. There we are. See, that only took a half hour, but now you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're taking a look, of course, at a iPhone 10 screen. So you're going to see magic occur here. And you see a long, skinny screen here. But my thing that I'm going to be showing is how to turn off in-app ratings and reviews. Now, you've probably had that situation before where you've been working with an app, and why can't I see my screen up on?
We're seeing your iPhone 10 screen.
Well, that's good. I can't see it, but everybody else can. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do this. Face ID, that's so cool. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to, sometimes you're in an app and you get those obnoxious pop-ups that come up and say, love this app? Review it, please. We'd love for you to do that. Well, that gets old after a while. So there is a way that you can actually turn that off. And the way you do it is, once again, you go to our favorite app settings, you scroll down to iTunes and App Store, tap on that, And then we go down here. And you'll notice that I've already got this turned off, this thing that says in-app ratings and reviews. By doing that, any app that has been written using Apple's APIs, in other words, if it's following the app guidelines completely, what it will do is say, hey, developer, this guy doesn't want to see those pop-ups, so we're going to keep it from showing the pop-ups. If I want to see all those ratings and reviews pop-ups, I can go ahead and turn that on. And now I'm just, any app that happens to have that little clicker in there, to, the little pop-up that's going to show up and say, do you like my app? Review it, or give us a rating, 1 to 5 stars. I'll see that. But I don't like them. I get tired of them. If I really like an app or really hate an app, I always write a review anyway. So I'm going to turn it off. Boom. Now, one caveat on this is that some developers have actually, in the past, written ways that they ask you to, do a review or a rating that's completely outside of the regular APIs that they can normally call, when they're writing an app. And as a result, those apps will still go ahead and they'll still ask you if you want to rate or review the app. And usually what I do with those is I end up sending the folks who wrote the app, and I'm looking at you, Rosetta Stone, for your one app that just drives me nuts because it comes up every time I use it and asks me if I want to do a review. Anyway, I send messages off to the developers and say, will you please get rid of this? It's annoying as heck. So anyway, at least that will turn off most of the notifications. And now I'm going to hand it back to the good Mr. Marty.
All right. Well, I've got 2 more tips. We were going to do a 6 apiece. All right. I don't think I have to look at my cheat sheet this time. I pretty well know what I want to do for my last 2. So let me get back to sharing the proper screen here. Okay. And see if we've had any weather changes. I think it's still 3 below here.
It's -0.
Yeah. Is that even possible?
Or it could be +0.
Yeah. I think it actually has gone up a little bit. When it gets around like -0.1, it does some funny things like that. I'll tell you something I was going to test because you made me think of it. Pardon me. I wonder if you can see the keyboard differences on here.
Yeah, I sure can.
So that's what Steve was trying to show a while ago. And if you, you can do a lot of if you wonder, we'll cover this another time, why I have a dark keyboard. I'm using the Google keyboard because of the Google Voice. One of my favorite things to say, it's cold. And I'll just put it is cold, is to use the actual temperature things, the actual temperature indicator. It's cold. I'll just say it's 0, behold, degrees.
Yay!
We have a lot of little pop-ups for you. So you want the upside down question mark, huh? So anyway, I just wanted to see if that would come through.
Yeah, upside down exclamation point too, if you tap and hold on that.
Yep, it comes. And a lot of the others, let's see, the period has an ellipsis. There's a lot of things. Oh, a lot of currencies.
Yeah.
Since.
I don't even know what that first one was. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not too much into currency. I do good to have a few dollars and let it go at that. But you can do a lot. Backslash is very handy. But anyway, I didn't mean to digress. I wondered if this would come through since you were having a little issue there.
That's good. Yeah, because I was trying to show it from the Mac, and that wasn't showing it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, yeah, well, you're welcome there. I didn't want to upstage your show, but I wanted to show people what you were talking about, how that it would fly up. All right, let me show you a couple little tips. And I've actually mentioned this before, but I've learned a little bit more, I think, since we last went over it. One of my favorite tips is found in settings. You have to dig a little bit. Go down to General and go to Accessibility. There's is at least one thing I use in here all the time that's not just for people with special needs. Uh, I do use larger text sometimes, but one of the things I use all the time, you go on down, and that is assistive touch. Now I've got it off right now, but I'm going to turn that on. And when I do, you'll see a little icon appear at the lower right of my screen. Does that come across?
Yeah, it sure does.
Okay, I had preset these that if I single tap it, I want a screenshot. You can set that to do, you can have it many different commands. I'll just show you the screenshot first. Let's say I use this a lot. I keep an iPad. I have an older iPad that someone gave me. It's not that old, but it's a nice iPad, runs the latest iOS, and I keep it setting on a treadmill to listen to music. And a lot of times I want to take a screenshot. It's a little hard sometimes when walking to do the maneuvers that a screenshot requires. So I have this set up and I just tap it one time and there's a screenshot. It'll flash and pardon me, send it right there. And that's all you have to do. And you can move this little widget anywhere you want. But one thing they've added, you can customize how light or dark you want it to be. Standard is 40%. Well, that's just too much in the way. Let's get on down. So you can make it. And so I just usually keep it at 40%.
Nice.
So you can have that, well, 39%, wherever you want to. But I find that extremely handy. But let's say that's if you only have one thing on this menu. So let's say I wanted two things. Let's add one to it. Let's say I want to be able to tap it and have it to, I want to reboot the phone, actually. That's been added.
Whoa.
Because rebooting the phone can be very challenging if you only had one arm or if you only had use of one hand. You'd almost have to have a friend to help you do the, some of the reboots. So now, and see, these are, when I go back to my screen, I just have that little button hiding down there. I can move it around. Now, if I tap it, I'm given a choice. It took a screenshot. I may not have saved it. I don't want to end up rebooting the phone here. But, okay, I put many here. Let me get this down. All right, just one. We'll go back to screenshot. I'll just do reboot just for the one, but you can set up, I think I've had as many as 7. I'm just going to make screenshot it. Okay, restart. All right, hit it. Do you want to restart your phone? I want to hit cancel. Yeah. So that's a very handy, if you need to think you need to restart and have some mobility issues, just set it for that. And I actually prefer the icon. I just keep one for screenshot. And one other thing I hadn't really done until recently is single tap. What do I want it to do? All right, I want this button to actually do the screenshot. All right, let's leave that at this. I want double tap to bring up, well, let's just do multitasking. All right, let's see how well that works now. All right, I single tap it, screenshot it. It takes that off before it takes a screenshot, double tap. Sure enough, multitasking.
Nice.
So you can program that to have at least up to 3 things. So that may have been both of them in one. I was going to show how to do a screenshot, with one finger and one tap only, and reboot with one tap. So I won't get into some of the other things. So that's assistive touch. I find that one of the handiest things, and I actually use that single screenshot all the time because I do keep my phone in a holder in the vehicle. And, especially if I'm sitting still, I don't want to do it while I'm driving, but there's a screenshot of something I want, I just can tap it. And I turn that on a lot and find it a very, very convenient thing. So I guess that's my 6 there.
Excuse me. What's really cool about that is that, it's one of those things that they designed really for use, for accessibility reasons. yet it could really help out just about anybody. Um,
Yeah, I actually showed that to a young girl in high school, and we were talking about the phone and Apple World Day, and I think she'd said something like, "Well, show me something about the phone I don't know." I said, "Okay," and I showed her that tip. She said, "You have changed my life." I doubt that,
ha!
but that's what she said. I'm sure there was some facetiousness involved, but it's a nice little tip that really does help people, for quick screenshots.
Yeah, it's actually really cool, because like I said, it's just one of those things that you would ordinarily not think about. And, and because you'd say, oh, it's accessibility. It has nothing to do with me. And sometimes it
Yeah.
does.
Uh, and if you have it set up for like, 7 or 8 actions when you hit it, it will pop up a menu, then you pick the one you want. If you want to do it with just one tap, have just one item, and then it always selects it because there is just one. So that's why I only use screenshot. I just want to tap the screen and get the screenshot.
Cool. Well, I absolutely love that one too. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
That's being able to take screenshots with one finger and one tap or reboot. Uh, you know, I bet for developers that could be a real help. Because there are sometimes that you want to see how an app is going to react to a kind of a clean restart
Right.
situation. And what a great way of being able to do it instead of having to go in, hold down the power button, slide the thing across. Instead, you just go tap and then okay, you're done. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I'm gonna
I'm glad they built it. I think they did it because of the iPhone 10, because there's probably a little bit more involved.
yeah. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and do my last two here as well.
Oh yeah, we're already over
And
an hour. We've had a beefy show tonight.
it's because we're so doggone good.
I wouldn't go that far for me. Oh, are we going to talk about before we leave, any scheduling changes?
Oh, yeah. You bring up a very good point. We are not going to do this every week from now on. In fact, we're going to do it the first and third Tuesday nights of every month. And we'll include that in the show notes
Oh,
so
goat
that people
sales.
know not to come see us every week. We'll also be sure to do what we did tonight, which is send out a tweet ahead of time so that you can, kind of get a heads up that we're going to be out here. But first thing I was going to do is kind of talk a little bit about the iOS 11 screenshots. And it's funny that you brought up screenshotting with one finger, because what I was going to talk about was, just how different it is under iOS 11. And if you do the screenshot gesture, which normally is going to be your power button and home button, on the iPhone 10, it's going to be the power button and the volume up button. What happens now is you get the flash, and then this little screen, this little icon shows up down here. And if whoops, I was trying to click on it. Not a smart thing to do there, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that again. Hopefully. No, I didn't want to talk to her. Let's try that again. There. Come on. And I shut my device off just then. One more time. There we go. Anyway, if I tap on this, what this does is it brings up the screenshot that I just took. And down at the bottom, you can see all sorts of tools for going in and annotating that. So this one right here lets me adjust the color. Oh, and I'm tapping on it again, or clicking on it again. I need to tap. If I tap on it, you can see that I can choose from blue, green, yellow, red, black, or white. I'm going to go with green just for the heck of it. No, I'll go with yellow. Now I can choose a tool to use, and I can either make it a marker. This is kind of a felt tip. You see I can draw on there. It's almost like a pen. I can use a highlighter. Oops, that's not working very well, but you can tell that looks like a highlighter. A pencil, which is real thin line, And I also have an eraser, so I can go in and I can erase those pretty quickly. Really helpful for going in and, kind of highlighting something. Now, there's also a selection tool. I'm going to go in and use that. And I'm not seeing anything here. Well, I'm not sure exactly why that's not working, but heck.
It's bouncing when you tapped it.
Yeah, it's odd because I'm seeing it's actually doing something on the screen, but I'm not sure what it's supposed to do. You can see a string of dots that appear. And I thought it was just copying that section. Maybe it is, and I'm just not aware of that. Anyway, the other things you can do, if you want to annotate that with text, you can do that. So we could put some text on the screen. We can move it anywhere. We can change the color again. I'll make it red. I'm not going to type anything, but we could put that text on there. I can also add a signature. And in this case, I happen to have my signature. I can put it up there. And last but not least, we have this neat magnifier. So if I want to show people, what the wallet icon looks like, for instance, I can drag that over and it blows it up a little bit. And you can actually play with this a little bit in terms of increasing or decreasing both the magnification and the diameter of the bubble, the magnifier. So some fun things you can do. Once you've done this, you've got a choice to go in and share things. And I'm going to go ahead and hit that, my share icon. AirDrop is always a good thing. Like here, I could send it over to my MacBook Pro. I can send it in a text message, mail, add it to notes, tweet it, send it to Facebook, put it in Slack. You name it. I can copy it, save it to Dropbox, any of these great things. I can even create a watch face out of that if I wanted to, which I don't want to, but that's beside the point. Now, after all that work, if I decide that, I really don't need that screenshot, I'm going to hit done up here, and it gives me two choices, save to photos or delete the screenshot. And in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. Now, I take a lot of screenshots when I'm writing posts. And what I do a lot of time is I will, do the screenshot on here. I won't annotate it. Maybe I need to do something else with it, but I just don't do it on the device. But I'll share it via AirDrop to my Mac, and then I delete it. So it's over on the Mac. It ends up in my downloads folder, and I can do whatever I need to with it there. Works out pretty cool. Now, my last tip of the day is another cool thing that has to do with accessibility. And you just brought up, assistive touch. My favorite is great if you ever have to hand your phone over to a kid to keep them busy for a while and you don't want them messing around with everything on your phone. But let's say, Junior comes up and says, I want to play Doodle Jump. I want to play Doodle Jump, or, some game like that. What you can do is go in and once again into settings, and we're going to go down to general accessibility, and we'll scroll down here quite a ways to guided access. And what guided access does is it says it keeps the iPhone in a single app and allows you to control which features are available. To start guided access, you triple click the side button in the app that you want to use. You can also set a time limit. So if you want Junior to only play Doodle Jump for 30 minutes, you can actually set a time limit for that. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to games. I'm going to bring up Doodle Jump. And to bring that up, once again, all I have to do is triple tap the power button. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 real quick here. I get this little thing that comes up on the screen. It says, what do you want to do? You guided access, or do you want to see the magnifier? Well, I want guided access. And it brings this up. It says, okay, you can circle areas on the screen that you want to disable. That's another powerful feature. But in this case, I'm just going to start. And it'll say, triple click to exit this. Now, here I am in the game. And, we can look at some of this fun stuff here and look around. Well, I'm going to try to get out of the screen, and I can't get out of the app. There's no way. I can swipe left and right and up and down. I can even try to go to Control Center, Notification Center. Nothing works. The only way I can get out of that is to go in and triple tap again on the power button. 1, 2, 3. It says enter your passcode. You actually preset it up before you do it a first time. And now it gives me the choice of either ending or resuming guided access. And there it tells you guided access is ended and I can get out of the app. So once again, a great way if you want to hand an iPhone or iPad, any iOS device to another person and you just want them to be able to use one app and one app alone. That's a great way to focus on that one app.
That's a really good tip. People don't realize how much is available in iOS, hidden things like that. My brother teaches school, junior high, and he had called me one day about how he could do something like that. And I talked him through it, and he found that very useful, the guided access in class.
Yeah, I give guided access a double thumbs up.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it for tonight. And if you liked not only tonight's show, but the concept of us doing hints and tips, kind of going back and forth like this, let us know, because maybe we'll consider doing one show a month where we bring up different hints and tips. And that way you can improve your knowledge of Apple operating systems or something like that. As usual, if you really, really like the show or, even somewhat are amused by it, go ahead and give us a thumbs up on YouTube. And also be sure to subscribe to the show, because we'd love to be able to notify you when we go live. Right, Marty?
That's right. So it's going to be first and third Tuesdays.
Yeah, 6:30 p.m. to about 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, or 9:30 to 10:30 Eastern time, or whatever it is in my time zone. It's like 8:30. Well, actually, it's 8:42 now, but we won't. That doesn't count.
Yeah. I thought it was a good show. I enjoyed your tips.
Well, I enjoyed yours too. And
yeah, we actually learned from each other and some good things there.
Yeah, that's the fun thing about being able to kind of show people with the screen and actually do the vocal descriptions like this. It's a great way of getting things across visually rather than verbally, and I think it's a great way to learn. So hopefully everybody liked it. We will see you in how many weeks?
Actually, it'll be 3 this time because we had a fifth Tuesday.
Yeah, so we will see you on, it'll be Tuesday, February 6th. And that'll be our next show. And then February 20th will be the show after that. I want to thank everybody for watching, whether you watched live, which is doubtful because we don't get that many live viewers, or if you're watching it after the fact. But thanks again.
Well, by spreading it out, we hope to have more beefy shows like this with more content.
Yeah, instead of us just BSing for. And you know what that means? No, I think it means something about being speechful, right? BS?
That's the way I'll take it.
Okay.
Always take the high road.
Always take the high road. Well, we could take that low road, but this is a family show and will always be. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you once again February 6th. Have a good one.